Once upon a time, in a kingdom ruled by a wise and just king. The king was known for his love of challenges and often engaged in playful banter with his queen, who was renowned for her wisdom and cleverness. One bitterly cold winter day, as the king took a stroll near a frozen pond outside his majestic castle, he remarked to his queen, "On a day like this, no one would dare to endure a cold bath in this pond." The queen, always up for a challenge, replied confidently, "It is possible, my king." Amused by her response, the king playfully challenged the queen, proclaiming that if anyone could withstand a night in the freezing pond without any clothes, he would reward them with 10 gold coins. Eager to prove her point, the queen ordered an announcement throughout the kingdom, inviting all who were willing to participate in this daring quest. Day after day, brave souls attempted the challenge, hoping to claim the king's prize. However, the bitter cold proved too much for them, and they would eventually give up. The king, watching from a distance, would tease the queen about her supposed unfounded claim. One day, a poor peasant who had heard about the challenge arrived at the castle. Determined to endure the freezing night, he accepted the king's quest and positioned himself in the icy pond. As the long night passed, the peasant remained steadfast, sitting in the freezing water without any clothes to shield him from the biting cold. When the sun finally rose, the man was still sitting there, his spirit unbroken. The king asked the peasant how he had managed to survive the merciless cold. The peasant humbly replied, "Your Majesty, as the night grew colder, I gazed at a distant light coming from a humble hut. In my mind, I imagined that I was there, holding my beloved daughter close, keeping her warm in my arms. The thought of her love and warmth gave me the strength to endure the king, feeling deceived and angered by the peasant's response, declared that instead of receiving the promised reward of 10 gold coins, the peasant would be punished with 10 lashes for his supposed dishonesty. Witnessing the injustice, the wise queen realized it was time to teach the king a valuable lesson. The following day, she informed the king that she would prepare a grand feast to be held in the morning. Excited, the king invited all his ministers and eagerly awaited the feast. However, as the day progressed, morning turned to noon, and still the feast was not ready. Annoyed and famished, the king dispatched a messenger to inquire about the delay. The messenger, delivering the queen's message, returned and informed the king that the food was not yet ready. As the hours wore on and noon transitioned into evening, the king's hunger grew unbearable. Frustrated and impatient, he stormed into the queen's kitchen chamber to investigate the delay. To his surprise, he saw a large pot hanging high above a crackling fire, seemingly out of reach. Baffled, the king turned to the queen and demanded an explanation. "Why is the food hanging so high on the ceiling? Even if the fire burns for a year, the food will never be ready," he exclaimed in frustration. With a calm and knowing smile, the wise queen replied, "My dear king, just as the peasant drew warmth from the distant hut, the food you crave is much closer than that. It will be ready in no time." Her words held a deeper meaning. Suddenly, the king realized the gravity of his mistake. He understood that he had wrongly accused the peasant. Filled with remorse, the king called for the peasant to be brought before him. Acknowledging his misjudgment, the king apologized sincerely and presented the peasant with 100 gold coins to compensate for his error. That evening, the king, queen, ministers, and the peasant who had won their hearts shared a magnificent feast, celebrating not only the peasant's victory, but also the power of empathy, understanding, and the wisdom of a just queen.